We're on a planet that is the third one along from the sun. A certain sun, one of the many suns. And that's all we're going to give you. Are you ready to do the intro?
I knew you would start with this. No.
No?
No. You could always try.
I could always try. We're going to get Shireen one day, she's going to surprise me and say, sure, lots of love and blessings. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Shireen.
Hello, Michael.
Yay.
Yay. We're still in the same room.
In the same room. And today we're talking about something that someone asked us. What is the most difficult phase after you have a spiritual awakening? So if you're listening to this, I imagine you've had some sort of spiritual awakening where you realize that you're a spiritual being and something changed in your life and you looked at the world in a new way. And then after that happens, then in a sense the journey begins. The spiritual awakening is like a catalyst that snaps us out of what we were in before and brings us into a new life. And then a whole range of things happen as we move towards our highest destination. And so someone asked us, what is the most difficult phase after spiritual awakening? I've been on a spiritual path for about 25 years, so we've gone through a lot of different phases and different times. And we have a lot of experience that is different between us, and of course you have your own life. So let's jump into this. What is the most difficult stage? So if people have this experience, and then there are all these different stages. What happens next?
You know, you have to think of spiritual life just like you would think of your own life. And think of a baby being born, right? The baby is born, and then there's a childhood phase, then there is an adolescent phase, then there's a young adult phase, then there is youth, there, you know, all of that, and then there is maturity, right? Then there's a mature phase. I feel the same can be said of spiritual awakening too. Like when you're born, you're a baby, right? And when you're a baby, you get a lot of grace, actually. Just like your parents are there to take care of you, right? So depending on your spiritual path, you know, spiritual parents are there to take care of you and be nice.
She's so sweet.
Yes, all of that is going on. But eventually, so it's hard to say what is the difficult phase, but we have to understand that they are phases. And that our destination really is to be mature, spiritually mature, right? You can be young as a person, but you can be spiritually mature. And you can be old in your body, but you need not be spiritually mature. So spiritual maturity is the end goal. And so to really understand your phases, right? Like I remember many times in the center where people are being very difficult. I just tell myself, oh, they're going through the teenage phase. Right? So they're going through the teenage phase. So you don't feel, you know, you're not saying, oh, why are they doing this and why are they doing that, right? So, but we have to go through the phases, right? Because sometimes I've noticed that even as adults, we are not mature. You know, many adults are not mature. They are almost like children, and they refuse to mature. They, you know, like there's no age-appropriate behavior.
It's true. Someone might be 60 and they're still acting like a 20-year-old.
Yes, there's not age-appropriate behavior, and I feel it's not good for you. You know, it's not, because there are many beautiful benefits of both physically aging and spiritually aging, especially spiritually aging. And so to remember that, to remember, yes, there are phases. Yes, I have to, you know, maturity is my end goal. And yes, it's a beautiful phase. Every phase is a good phase. And every phase, right, has its own difficulty. Like childhood, spiritual childhood will have the difficulty of making sure you stay right? Because then you can leave and then totally lose it, lose whatever you have accumulated. Or there is another phase, like in the teenage phase, right? You feel very rebellious, you don't want to do whatever is being asked, all of those things, right? You have to notice these things about yourself and keep at it, because ultimately, right, the game of spirituality is one in consistency. The whole game is about being in the game.
Yeah, and also learning the different level lessons.
Yes, learning the different lessons. So every phase might be difficult.
Yeah.
So I feel that
it's all hard work. Everyone, get ready. No, there's different phases. So this is good to know, isn't it? There are phases, and just like the body grows up physically, like the body ages regardless of whether or not we've aged or changed emotionally. But then there's spiritual maturity, and not everyone, like it sometimes takes a long time to mature on any level. It's not that if someone is 30 years old that they've necessarily learnt all the lessons that someone else has at 30. I mean, you were telling me about someone who was helping with some work, right? And he was a young guy.
He's 22.
22. But he acts like he's probably 45 or something, and he's got all this experience and he gets it done. And I said, I bet you he's been working since he was really young. And it's true. He said, I've been working since as soon as I could walk, he was working, right? So he's actually 22, but he's got 20 years experience. So someone else might have started at 20 or 22, and they would only get the same experience he has when they're 40 something. So he's way ahead of the game in that area. He might be immature in other ways. I don't know. Maybe he's mature in every way, and we should have him on the show. How did you do it? He's only 22. Oh, I know. But we sometimes are very mature in some areas, but we're completely immature in other areas because we just haven't got the practice.
Right. That's the second phase. Difficult. Second thing I was going to say about being difficult is, you know, when we come into spiritual life, we have a lot of grace. You know, like free samples.
The honeymoon phase.
And free samples, and we get lots of wonderful things, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful experiences, and maybe even we started because we had some kind of grace, some kind of awakening, right?
Yeah, well, let's just stop there for a second. That's what a lot of people have. I mean, both of us and many other people listening, they have some sort of awakening. That's the first phase. And I've heard some people have nasty awakenings that I can't quite understand what they mean, like bad things happen. But most people have some sort of realization that something is different. Like I had totally pulled out of my body and shown a vision of the future, and then I came back, and I felt different. And I started doing meditation, and I remember one time lying down on a Friday night, going to sleep on the floor, and I decided to get rid of my bed and sleep on my little mattress, on this like little comforter, and I was really minimal, chucked everything out, and I was just lying there feeling so much love and bliss because I was having these spiritual experiences, and I wasn't doing anything really. I was just like flying. So that's often the first phase. You're just flying, and you're not doing any hard work. And then you think, well, this is great. This is just the best.
Right.
Yes. And then it runs out normally.
Right.
It runs out, and then that can potentially be one of the most difficult phases because
you're expecting the grace to move.
What happened? You know, does it mean I did something wrong? What's going on? Because it was that whole initial intoxication was just gifted. It's like a freebie, you know. You just get a certain amount free without doing anything, and then you have to pay. You have to work, and a lot of people just leave at that point. They say, I can't be bothered with this. This is too much, and they go back to whatever they're doing before.
Right.
So do you want to talk about that next phase? Once that
yes. So what happens is, think about there's few ways you can have an experience, right? Because, like I said, the most important thing in any spiritual path is we stay. And we are staying in the game, and we are able to stay in the game if we are having good experiences. If you're not having good experiences, then we can't really stay in the game, right? Because then it becomes very dry. And so what I've noticed is, to have good experiences, it can come in one of two ways. You're just having grace, you're just getting these freebies, free samples, flying, whatever, without you doing much, right? That's just really God's grace.
Right, it is, yeah.
That's one way. The second way is you have to practice. And so one of the main aspects of spirituality is independence, is not to be dependent on facilities, not to be dependent on external things, but to really go inside and really who you are and really be able to generate beautiful feelings from within, right? That is the most important thing. And so the reason why we are not able to generate those things is because we are not doing enough practice. And so that's the second way. One is, okay, you just have grace and you do it, and second way is you practice and you do it. And so I would feel, if you were to ask me, pin me down and say, no, you have to give me a most difficult phase, I would say practice.
Doesn't practice carry on indefinitely, though?
Yes, it does, but even before I can understand the power of my own practice, right, I give up.
Yeah, it's...
Because my practice has power, because then I'm taking responsibility, and then I really, I'm taking one step of courage, and I'm getting 1,000 steps of help.
Right, well, you have to do something.
You have to take that step of courage.
Yeah, so the first phase is you don't typically do anything particularly. The next phase is where you have to do something and generate transformational experiences.
Yeah, that is difficult to.
That is very difficult
to keep practicing.
Yeah, it's kind of like if I had an inheritance or something, or I had some benefits, or something has just given me something, and then it runs out, and I'm like, it can be awkward trying to get it. What's the next thing? Like when parents, they give money to their kids, and then they say, right, you have to work now. Or you tell me that's actually a very difficult transition.
Right, it is a very difficult transition, but it gets easier if you accept responsibility and maturity and understand that this is a phase and I have to, get it together. Because think about it, right? Ultimately, the only way we can have happiness is by giving.
Right.
You cannot get happiness by grab. You have to give.
Yeah, and I think also being of service to others.
That's what I was getting at, right? So what happens is, if I'm able to generate through my practice, I'm able to generate my own experiences, then I can really serve on a very different level.
Exactly, because you've actually had the practical
I have the practical experience, right? It's not like,
just theoretical. That you've heard it from someone else.
Right. I was on this meditation app, and all these meditation teachers, and they don't have any experience and they want to share, right? And then you think, really, it can't just be a business.
You need to actually do some practice.
Yes. Yeah. And so I feel that is the important, is we have to learn to give.
Right.
And to be able to give, we want to be able to experience.
We have to have something to give.
Yes.
So once the grace period runs dry, then we need to do the work. I remember when I started sitting for meditation, and I was actually quite alarmed was like, what is going on here, right? And then all his mind, all these thoughts, and it is quite concerning, actually. You know, you think, what? It's just rattling around. I remember doing meditation with a group, and we were trying to go into the light beyond the body, into the soul world. And I went there every day at 6 o'clock on my bike, right? So I'd get up in the morning at 4 o'clock or 3:30 or whatever, have meditation, then ride my bike 7 miles, often in the cold with ice and stuff, right, to the center for 6 o'clock. Then have like an hour and a half class, then have breakfast, then do another like hour and a half meditation, then go and do whatever work I had to do. Then I'd come back again in the evening on my bike afterwards until from like 6 to about 8, and then ride home, then do it all again the next morning. So I was putting in the practice, and I'm glad I did that actually, because it was powerful. But I remember it wasn't doing it for me for a certain amount of time. And I'm like, this is a lot of work. Like, I'm like getting up early in the morning, and it's cold outside, right? I can just stay in bed and to be all cozy. But I remember this one experience where I went beyond fully, right? And I was sitting there, and I was looking at a candle, and the candle stopped flickering, and it looked like a black and white photograph. And because I'd gone to a different realm, and the whole drama stopped. I was beyond time. I was in eternity, and everything had actually stopped completely. It went black and white. And I still remember it now, right? Because that was such a profound experience. But that was because I put in the work.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That wasn't a grace period. Not only did I have to do the work in the practice, getting there itself was a job. Do you know what I mean? That's a lot of work. I mean, I was young, so I had a lot of energy, so it didn't matter. But a lot of people just can't be bothered to even just walk down a road to something. Or
right.
Nowadays, you don't have to go anywhere. You just
put on Zoom, right?
You just press a button, you know.
Right. But I don't know how useful that is really. It's just, one of the things about giving, right? In each of the phases of our spiritual awakening, let's say as a toddler, just let's take a 2-year-old, right?
The terrible twos.
The terrible twos. You're not expecting 2-year-old to pick up after herself, or
she needs to make the espresso for all the
or make breakfast or anything, right? Like she's just taking.
Yeah,
right?
That's okay.
Yeah. And so if we keep continuing in the grace period and refuse to grow up, that's what we are doing. We're just taking. So we have to, when you're mature, you give, and giving makes you mature.
It's true.
And so giving really makes you, whatever difficult phase you're in, giving helps you get over it.
It does. I remember being asked to teach meditation course after 1 month. And I'd only just learnt it, right? And I didn't really understand it properly myself, you know. 'Cause, I mean, I just heard about all these fabulous ideas. And it was some girl who was about the same age as me, from one of the people who was in class, her daughter. And I gave her everything I knew in like 2.5 hours straight, right? But it was all theoretical, right? Because I didn't know what I was talking about. But the fact that I did, afterwards, I remember reflecting, like, that probably didn't make any sense to her, right? Because I could just look in her face, and I could tell she was, because it's too much, right? Well, like, we're in these podcasts, we're taking like one point and going into great detail on one main thing, whereas what I try to do is share everything I'd ever learned, you know, this whole thing in one go.
Poor kid.
I know, that's hard, right? But because I tried to do it, it made me think about how I can improve what I was doing, and also do I experience what I'm talking about as well. So even though it was like a complete car wreck, really, it was still good to at least attempt it, you know.
Right.
So
it's a really
important.
good way of learning, is teaching.
It is.
You know, you share with others, and then you also learn.
Yeah.
But I feel whatever difficult phases you're going through, that you can really get out by giving.
Absolutely.
giving of yourself, right?
That's
And
what
it
they do.
doesn't have to be teaching meditation. It could
No.
be in any way you give.
That's what they do in the 12 steps groups. That if you're feeling like having a drink, this is what they say. If you feel like you're having cravings, go and help an alcoholic. Just not drink. And then their own cravings disappear.
Right.
And but if we're not giving and we're stuck in our head and we're not having the experiences and not doing the work, then what choice is there going to be?
Right.
Except go back to the old stuff that's bad, that doesn't help. So you've got grace period, you've got doing the work, you've got starting to give, right? Another phase that comes up is what could be called dealing with our stuff, which sort of starts in the second phase anyway. But my experience, and I don't know about you, but my experience is that stuff that I thought I mostly dealt with comes up after a while. And I've heard this from a lot of other people. They think, oh, I've got it all together and everything's peaceful. And
Maya's listening.
Yeah. And you think, oh, everything's fine. And then this like monster arises from within. And you think, well, where did it come from? What is this stuff? You know, that can derail us potentially, because we're trying to become purer and more wholesome, like happy, liberated, spiritual people, and then when negative energies or waste thoughts,
Right.
you know, that can take us out potentially, like on the path.
Yes, if we don't face, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is very important is in any phase of spiritual awakening, especially facing, is be okay with it being not very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
These are new things we are learning.
Right.
And they are new territories the mind is going through, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
uncharted waters. The
Mm-hmm.
mind itself, the soul, are going through different things which you have not done before.
Right.
And so all kinds of resistance will come
Mm-hmm.
into play. And don't listen to it. Don't absolutely listen to it. I remember this story which I've shared with here, I think, before, about in the Odyssey, Odysseus, right? He's going through the straits, and Circe tells him, when you're going through that, you will hear the sirens singing.
Right.
And what you have to do is you have to tie yourself to the mast, right? So you don't hear the siren singing. Or even if you do hear the siren singing, you're not going to just go off.
Yeah, they jump. They like the sirens are so lovely that they dive in to their peril.
Yes, they dive in and kill themselves.
Everyone else puts wax in their ears, but he wanted to hear the sirens.
Right.
He wanted to hear how nice they were.
Right. So, and he gets tied, right?
He ties. They ask him. He tells them
to tie to the mast.
He's going to jump in. He's definitely going to jump in otherwise.
Right. So I feel that mast, symbolically,
Mm-hmm.
that mast is our discipline.
Right.
So if we are disciplined and we tie ourselves to a disciplined practice,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how beautiful the sirens are singing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the siren of, oh, I'm too tired today, I'll do tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, 6 months are up. So don't listen to these sirens.
Mm-hmm.
So recognize that they're sirens, face whatever you have to face, and don't listen. Right?
Yeah.
Just stick to a path. I always tell people, if you feel this is so beautiful, so wonderful, right, just do it for 2 years. Don't give up. Whatever your mind is telling you, don't give up, because what happens is the mind tends to create a lot of resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't give up, that is when we see the beauty.
Yeah, it's the mind and the emotions. The emotions we can get distressed emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Right.
and that, to me, I mean, the mind, of course, has its own thing. But if I feel disturbed,
Right.
then I can say to myself, this is a bad thing, and I should stop doing it. And that takes a lot of people down, because
Right.
they'll probably be fine the next day, or in a week, or maybe in a month.
Right.
But if you can't tolerate that level of temporary discomfort, then that's the end of it. I mean, I think that's why a lot of people leave their spiritual practices, because they had good experiences, maybe they did do some practice, then the stuff starts coming up, and then they think, I can't be dealing with this is too much, and then we go for distractions.
Right.
Because that means I don't have to look at it.
Right.
But how I personally feel better about this stuff is that it's coming up to say goodbye. I remember someone saying this to me years ago. When negative things come up, they're coming up to say goodbye. So it doesn't seem bad then. You're like, okay, see you later. So it's coming up. Oh, hello, and off it goes. And there it is again. Because otherwise it can be like, where is this an endless amount of this stuff, you know? But it does get cleared. Like there's a limited amount of negativity in the soul. It's not
absolutely,
unlimited.
it's not unlimited, and also it's just on the surface, right?
Yeah.
You have to keep diving,
Right.
and then you will go past that.
That's right. And there's a certain layer, and like if you're cleaning, that it might be a total mess, but if clean enough times, then it will actually get clean.
Right.
So this is a difficult phase, that whole dealing with it. A lot of these phases sort of happen continuously in a way. Actually,
Right.
You know,
Right.
they're more like layers, maybe.
Yes.
So what are the other phases?
You know, one of the most difficult things for me was just being disciplined, just being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Consistent and disciplined. So after that, right, because I was finding it so difficult to be disciplined, like doing the same thing every day, right?
Yeah, it's difficult.
It's very difficult. Get up at the same time every day, do the same thing every day. I'm like, oh, this is so boring. It feels so dry. It's whatever, right? That's what I used to think. And then I started calling it blisscipline. Because I changed the word in my head. Okay, this is blisscipline. And I keep doing it, and I will receive some benefit. And now I can't wait to do the same things, right? Because like there's so much joy. I invested so much joy into that event that I made it into bliss.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so that is very important, because otherwise we'll think life is very dry.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, they don't have discipline at all, or blisscipline. It's not very popular, is it, discipline?
No, but for spiritual awakening it is. To keep it going, it is very popular.
Yeah,
it needs to be.
Yeah, if we don't... There are certain things that lead to bliss, and we can't have the bliss without the things.
Absolutely.
And the things often, part of us doesn't like them, because they fly in the face of some other fun stuff that was temporarily interesting. But there's also another thing that often happens in this phase is this happens to me, or happens to a lot of people, is that when you have a spiritual awakening of some sort, there's a desire to separate your new life from your old life.
Right.
And to some people go so far as to chuck out all their stuff and start again. I mean, I didn't do that exactly, but I did some version of that. Like, oh, I want to have new food, and I want to have new things and new clothes and stuff.
Sometimes it's important to have new friends.
New friends.
The company you keep is very important.
Yeah.
You can't keep doing the same things, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you are a recovering alcoholic, and your friends go to bars. You can't follow them into the bars.
I mean, that's part of the game. It's like you have to upgrade not only your lifestyle, but also your friends and your stuff.
Right.
Because even certain, let's say certain pictures or books or paintings or whatever, like I'll give an example of a friend of mine. He started doing meditation. He was interested in his whole spiritual life and all that. And then he left. We were all living together, right? And then he went off on his own to his own place, right? And he gave us a key when he first moved in. And we hadn't seen him, like he'd stopped going to the classes and everything. And one day we were walking near his house and we had his key because it was on the keychain. We thought, let's go and see him, right? And knocked on the door and he wasn't there. So we thought, let's just go in. And he said we can come around, right? Have tea or something. So we went in there, and we were both just absolutely shocked because there was like beer cans everywhere and like whiskey bottles and pictures of like these scantily clad, almost naked women on the ceiling and stuff like. I was just like what is it? Because he surrounded himself with bad company.
Right.
And
It's so easy to get influenced.
It was just amazing what happened in a period of about 3 or 4 months. Absolutely incredible. So if he wanted to get back in the game, it would be good for him to chuck all that stuff out. Because if it's around...
No, and first is change your friends.
Yeah, change the friends.
Right? And also, why blame someone else for what you're doing, right? Because you want to do it, then you hang around those kinds of people. You always validate your siren calls.
Right.
With the friendships.
Well, they justify everything.
Right, yeah. Right. So if a particular kind of siren is singing to you, then those are the kinds of friends you want to be with, because everyone else will tell you, wake up.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Tie yourself to the mast. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Get out of that stuff. But the interesting thing is that even though that's an important phase, there's another important phase, which is to not be so extreme. Where you can actually handle being around other people and not get influenced by it. You know, because
I feel you should wait though.
That's more.
Let's say
advanced.
when you came into spirituality, right? You were 18 and you said you hung around lots of people who were smoking weed and drinking and all of that, right?
Exactly.
And so if you just said, no, I need to, be able to be with them, and you wouldn't have lasted.
No, it wasn't.
You have to you establish yourself in your spiritual life, and then you go help other people. Even in an airplane, what do they say? Put the mask on yourself first before you put the mask on anyone else.
Yeah,
so if you want good company, then if you want to really become elevated, then have good company. Later, when you feel strong enough, then you can go help other people.
Exactly. Yeah, that's. It's best to avoid until someone's strong enough. That's the best thing to avoid overall.
Right.
Yeah. I remember going back to see some of my friends years afterwards, and it didn't seem to be a good match anymore for what I was interested in.
It's good, at least you recognized it, right? And you just didn't keep hanging out and thinking, oh, let me do this with this person.
It actually just becomes boring, So it is important to get new friends and new situations. Otherwise, because we become like the people we spend time with. So if they're not the people we want to be like, then it's a problem, isn't it? And so these are all, for any. We could go on and on about this, but these are the main phases. As you can see, they are all slightly difficult.
No, nothing is difficult.
No, it's all fun and games.
Make it fun. Blisscipline. Just remember the word blisscipline. Blisscipline, blisscipline, blisscipline.
Yeah. Let's just...
So you can infuse bliss into every aspect of your life. You just have to do it with your heart, with the right intention.
Right.
Give it the right thoughts.
Yeah. Let's not forget the whole point of this is bliss, isn't it? And realistically, the more we practice, the more bliss we have.
Right.
So the whole point is just do things that make you feel great. So it's a wonderful journey, and it's well worth the little challenges that come up along the way. Any last thoughts?
Now I'm waiting for the blessing.
The blessing. Here is, let's show you the book. This is Shireen's book, God's Blessings for You. And now I have you sitting next to me. Why did you write this book?
I feel it was a download. I read back on the blessings and I think, what? Did I write that?
Yeah, well, you wrote it twice, didn't you?
Yes, I did write it twice. So one time I wrote it and then I lost my computer. I was just thinking about that computer this morning. It was totally toast. Nothing. I couldn't recover a thing from it.
Yeah, so you were trying to get this thing finished and you went away and then it died and then you had to do the whole thing again. And I think the second version was better, so it was after you were on a trip. So what's the number?
I would say 69.
69. Obedience.
Okay.
It's one of the people's favourite words. By living in harmony with the principles of pure love, your life has found its rightful path. Because you are obedient to truth, your life is transformed into a joyful dance, reflecting the pure love you embody. That's very beautiful.
See, it was a download. I don't even remember writing that.
What can you do? And Shireen, why don't you tell us, to finish this off, what other things people can get for free from us?
They can get this Ancient Spiritual Secrets course, several courses on spiritualtravelers.org, and meditations.
Yeah.
They can either go to Spiritual Sense or Release Your Wings.
Yeah.
Lots of meditations, Insight Timer.
Right.
You have a ton of meditations on Insight Timer.
Yeah.
I have a ton of meditations on Insight Timer.
And you have a course.
And a course, yes, new course.
And so we have a link to all these things. It's worth checking them out. And why are they all free?
Because it is our spiritual principle.
It's our great joy, isn't it? It's our principle.
Yes, it's our dharma, really.
It's our dharma.
We can't charge.
We can't charge.
And we are fine. We get whatever we need to get. I mean,
we have wealth.
It's not our business.
Wealth comes from different places, so we're not needing to charge any money for anything. And are there any hidden upsells in all this?
Nope.
No. So, because people ask this stuff, like, we actually run ads, we spend money to get people to give it for free. People say, what's the catch? Well, no, we're just giving it to you because we got it free. Like, someone had the grace to give me this spiritual knowledge many years ago, and you as well. And I never got charged anything for it, and so it's our great pleasure. So check out the links. They're very deep courses. We were just reading some of the comments and reviews from people, and they really like it. So I think you will too. Yay! Take care. Om Shanti.